Leadership family, what's up, guys?
What's
Welcome
up,
to the
y'all?
Restore and the Breach podcast. I'm your host, Greg.
And I'm Cachet, where we specialize in unlocking the leader inside of you.
We got another dope conversation today.
Yes, we do.
Man, it's going to be exciting. I'm excited about it. We did a little poll on Facebook, on social media, where we really wanted to focus in on our single audience. I know we talk a lot about relationship. Some of the topics geared towards the married couples, but we wanted to open that floor up and table a talk that could get the opinion and the mindset of those that are single.
Yeah, because I hear it's trash out there in these streets. I really did. Lord Jesus, help the singles here.
I mean, if you're part of some of these married groups that we're on, you think that.
You can see that it's trash out here in the street.
Yeah. But, there's hope.
There's
some hope.
Yeah, because I thought, I remember.
Yeah. We was in them streets at one point.
He was never in the Greg streets. Always had a boo. He was barely in the streets.
But at any rate, we digress. The conversation today, the question that we posed to both ladies and the gents was, if someone told you today to prepare for marriage, what are the first things that you think to do?
Yeah. And so Greg and I have our opinions about this are kind of like they kind of clash at times, because when I think back to what I thought was preparation and then got married, I saw that it really wasn't at all what I thought it was. So I'm like, I don't know if there's a real way to prepare for it. As where Greg is like, well, these type of principles you can use to prepare for it. So we'll get more in depth with that. But I think it was interesting, the answers we got. Yeah. Because based on what the different crowds that I've been around growing up, in church and stuff. I said to Greg earlier, I think this is a church thing a lot more than because like preparing for a husband, because you hear it a lot, like you got to prepare for your husband before he comes and all this stuff. And what I had said before we actually asked our audience what preparing for your husband was, what I remember a lot of the young ladies, including myself, doing to prepare for a husband is starting to plan the wedding. And so as a woman, the perception for a lot of the ones around me at the time was plan your wedding. And I remember specifically being told you should plan your wedding.
Now, let me stop you, because it was a heavy point when you made it. So listeners, pay attention to what she said. She was told to prepare to be a wife, to prepare to be a wife. And the first thing that she thought to do was to prepare for her wedding. Yep. To plan her wedding. Yeah. So, your initial thought had nothing to do with preparing to, what type of woman am I going to be to my husband? Anything like that.
Well, that was all included in there. Yeah. It was the wedding, because that's the tangible stuff. And it was like, you better be able to know how to cook. You better be like, it was things that you can do or things that you might not necessarily even have to do. We already had this discussion with the gender roles, but things that you can do, like I better be able to cook. I need to look nice all the time. So I remember I used to like dress a certain way, like, man, my husband is going to be, because look at how I be looking. And let me tell you, when me and Greg got together, he didn't hardly notice.
We ain't going into that. We're not going into that. She on the tangent. No. The point that we're trying to make is she planned something that had absolutely nothing to do with marriage.
And that's why I feel like it's hard to, like, being in marriage. That is exactly why I feel like it is difficult to say this is for marriage. And this is why a lot of our responses, male and female, there were some that were similar that came in.
So wait, let's make the stances clear. Okay. This is where we have a dividing line. She believes that there is no real preparation for marriage. And she'll explain why she feels that way. My stance is, I believe that there is some preparation for marriage, or things that can prepare you for it, even though you may not actually experience it yet. So that's where we differ in those stances, and we'll dive into it. So you elaborate where you are on that.
So me, or are we going to talk about the posts?
The comments?
Yeah.
Well, we'll get into that. So some of the feedback we got some really dope feedback from you guys.
A lot of it. We put it on a couple different pages.
Yeah.
To get the different perspectives.
Yeah, and some of that stuff ranged from get my finances in order,
to lose weight,
lose weight. Everybody, a whole lot of people talking about getting your body right.
A lot of people talked about their finances, making sure their finances was together, getting out of debt.
Yep.
I saw one that was unique, and it was, what was the sensitivity? What was that?
Take a male sensitivity course.
Yeah, that was a woman, which is interesting. I'm thinking about when you get, as a woman of a certain age, when you start to become self-aware of things that have happened over the years and how you may be.
Yep.
I don't think that that's wrong at all, but we'll get
it was. I mean,
it was good.
It was a wise approach, because her mindset was, I need to prepare myself to understand how a man thinks.
Yeah.
Instead of coming into it thinking I know how a man thinks and then messing some stuff up.
No, she was talking about. No, I didn't think that was it.
Yeah, I thought that's where she was coming from.
No,
because then she kind of elaborated a little more detail into.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was coming from this place. Okay. I want to make sure that I have a better approach in communicating.
More so because of this is how I took it. Years. That's why I said a woman of a certain age, because being 30 something. 30 plus some numbers. Mm-hmm. You start to be, you can become more self-aware. A lot of me and my friends have become more self-aware of things in the past that kind of shaped us into what we are now and what we do now and why we do the things that we do. Mm-hmm. And because of that, you may notice you can be very rough. Yeah. Like, I've been hurt, or men haven't ever been consistent in my life. So I may be a rough person. Mm. And so maybe I'm not very sensitive towards, a man. Yeah. For real. I don't know how else to say it, but that was the way that I thought that it was when I read it. We also got a lot of, we talked about the finances. We also got a lot of,
people get my mental health right.
Yes. Make sure that my mental health is together, prepare myself for space for someone else to be there.
Yep. You mentioned finances, but some people got a little more specific and said pay off debt.
Yeah.
So it ranged from financial literacy.
Yeah.
To make sure I come into a relationship with no debt.
Yeah. And I did see one that was like, start cooking.
Yeah.
But either way it goes, it was pretty interesting to read the comments, because thank you so much. We loved reading all the feedback. A lot of it was very similar. Mm-hmm. And what conclusion we came to, and one of the young ladies on the post said this, is that these are things that we can do. They're things that we could do without preparing to be married. These are life skills. Yeah. So why would I wait? For instance, why would I wait and get out of debt to prepare to be married? Why wouldn't I get out of, why wouldn't I decide now, like, let me get out of debt, because that's good for me. Yeah. Why would I say I'll lose weight when I know that I'm about to get a man, or I'm about to get a wife, instead of saying, if I feel like I'm not healthy, let me get,
why are these motivators for marriage?
Yes. Versus life. And this is why I said that it's hard to pinpoint things that I would say are specific to preparing to be married, because they're life skills. Uh-huh. I'm not going to wait to learn how to cook just because I'm about to get a husband. Mm-hmm. If I feel like I should know how to cook. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, I should have been doing that, because that's just great. What if you don't ever get married? You ain't gonna know. Here we go. I said this before. Yeah. About on the male side with the gender roles. You ain't gonna know how to cook or clean until you get married. Your finances ain't gonna be in order until then. You're not gonna learn how to communicate with other people until you get married. Because here's the thing: when you get married, it's still a different ball game. You learn a lot about yourself, a lot. Yourself.
And even the stuff you learn how to do well, you might have to end up modifying in some way because you're dealing with another person.
Yeah, so. And you don't know, even when you feel like you are on like we are on the same page with these things. Like, there's conversations you can have before. I know couples have had conversations saying, do you want this? Yes, I want this too. But then when they get married, the one decides they don't want that no more. And so then it's a challenge because it's like, well, you said, and it's like at the time, first of all, here we go again with the same conversation. If you guys have watched, a lot of this is similar, the fluffies, where you're sometimes saying stuff like, of course I want 5 children. Absolutely. I would love, but once you get into it, that's not exactly, you realize that that's not what you want. Yeah. That's not what you want. Or maybe you just changed, because that happens too. And so that's why, Greg is a great, great man. He really is. And people don't,
So I get into my stance on it.
Let me say
Go
though,
ahead. Go ahead.
and being married to you, though, still proved to be more challenging than I expected it to be.
Mm-hmm.
And not because like of anything in particular, but human beings learning how to cohabitate.
Yeah.
Learning how to get on one page, because you think that you will automatically just get on one page. You'll automatically be able to communicate. You'll automatically, be able to know what to do with your finances or when it's a big decision. But you don't really know until you're in it.
So my question for you.
Mm-hmm.
So are you saying that there aren't things that you learned pre-marriage that prepared you to coming into marriage?
I honestly don't. I feel like I learned a lot of life skills. My whole life, though. My whole life was like.
Did those life skills help you coming into marriage?
I don't feel like that helped with marriage. I feel like I would be doing it whether I was with you or not. You get what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying, but
I need to know how to balance my money without you. You know what I mean?
This is where, and I don't disagree with you. I just feel that your stance is kind of, in my opinion, I don't know if I want to call it a cursory view, where you're like, these skills in themselves you don't need to learn just for marriage, which I agree.
Yeah.
I look at it twofold, which I told you when we talked earlier. I look at it as the proper way to teach this, because we see, and we led this with how oftentimes in church and society and family, we saw it a whole lot in church. From a religious standpoint, it's taught that you need to do X, Y, and Z to be good in marriage. When the proper way to teach it is, you need to be focused in your singleness, learn these very same life skills so you can be successful in your singleness. And then when you come into marriage, you already have this skill set. You're not coming into marriage blowing your family's money because you never learned these life skills in your singleness.
Now, I have a thing about that too. Like for that in particular.
Okay, well, let me finish. Okay, because I see where you're going.
You do?
But my stance on it is, I believe that you can teach life skills properly to people who are single who aspire to be married. You can teach them that with and I just feel like the proper way to explain it is to say, hey, there are things that you're going to deal with in marriage that nothing in life is going to help you with. Some stuff's just tried by fire. However, if you learn self-control, if you learn to make sure you put an emphasis on your own mental health, if you learn how to actively listen and how to communicate, when you come into marriage, you have some set of skills that you can kind of turn on when you face stuff that bucks up against those life skills. Like when you get into an argument with your spouse, if you know how to communicate, if you know how to pay attention to some of those things, does not mean you're always going to get it right. But at least you have something to go back to and say, man, I know I didn't listen well there, because I've done this for a very long time. I've applied it in my career. I've applied it with other relationships and friendships where I've recognized, man, I didn't listen well there, or I did. That doesn't go off because you get married. I
think it changes because you get married.
Yeah.
I think it changes.
That's another level of challenge.
I feel like, and this is why I say this, the level of relationship that you have in marriage is beyond any relationship that you have with anybody else. Well, so I may be very good at active listening at work and with other people, but learning how to do it with someone in my personal space all the time with this intimate type of relationship that I've never had anywhere else. Like, it's different. And that's why it's like, I can learn how to actively listen outside. And I'm not really disagreeing, because I do believe there's still, that's what I mean. That's why I feel like they're more so life skills.
Yeah.
And yes, they'll help you in marriage, I guess. But I just feel like it changes.
Oh, agreed.
To a place where you thought that, and this is why I say that you learn a lot when you get married. Things you thought you had under control.
Yeah.
Things you thought you didn't have a problem with.
Yeah.
You may find that they may be drawn out because of this different level relationship you never had before.
Yeah.
I think about even down to, I just didn't, there's certain things you don't even ever have to deal with until you're married, like someone in your space in a certain type of way.
Yeah.
You never even are faced with a challenge this way. So you just may think, I'm good at listening until you get with someone and it's challenged.
See, I got a good analogy for this, and you're 100% right. So we teach our boys clearly. If you're watching the video, you see we're African American, and we teach our boys. I'm gonna get my 23andMe down.
Y'all, I'm telling you, it's
this.
gonna be like
I go back to the
78% European,
whatever, bro. But we teach our boys now, and that you need to have self-control. You need to learn how to respect authority, while also not being afraid to voice your opinion in the proper way now. Because when you get older, you may face some level of authority. And I reference that ethnicity because we know in this climate, that there are some law enforcement, not all, in your workplace, wherever,
all kind of places.
Students, teachers, it doesn't matter, that treat you differently because of the color of your skin. And so you have to be able to conduct yourself in the right way. So we're teaching them basic life skills, self-control, how you talk to your brothers and your sister, how you respond to us when you get frustrated. We're teaching them that, while also painting a picture for them of something that they won't even understand until they get into those situations. And that's the same mindset that I have, because we could just teach them, you need to have self-control and never give them an adult analogy, but we have the mentality like, I want you to understand, you need to practice this now in this situation with your siblings at this age. So whenever you come into adulthood and you don't understand this now, but you will see mommy and daddy's words will ring in your head. Law enforcement, teacher, peer, self-control. So that's the same mindset I have with giving tools to single people. Like, I can teach you, this is what you need to apply in your single life. Utilize it now. But when you step into marriage because you want to be married, you've made that clear that you want to be, this is how I can explain, at least from my experience, how can it apply. It may not be the exact same way. But there are ways in which you can apply it.
It makes me think about, when you're saying this, there's a scripture in the Bible that talks about not thinking you're better than you are. Basically, I'm paraphrasing it.
Yeah.
Because I really like, and this is back to, kind of my stance on it, even though I really do agree with everything that you're saying about needing those things. I mean, but I'm going further and saying you just need them in life.
Thanks, babe. I appreciate that. Appreciate you.
Don't get the satisfaction. But I do agree that you need them in life.
Yeah.
And I think that my issue really is, and maybe it's because of what we were around, that it's emphasized so hard on needing it for marriage.
Yeah.
And then you may find that this thing doesn't even fit what you actually needed in your marriage.
Yeah.
And so, there's an emphasis on certain things, but it's like, this is just a life skill though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think where you come from, because I've heard you voice this before, you really want people to be able to not rush their life.
Yeah.
And so
you miss stuff.
Yeah, you don't want to spend all this time trying to prepare for this season of life that could be 15, 20 years away.
I mean? You really do miss things.
Yeah.
And I can say that from experience. Even though we got married young, when I really think about it, it's still, I wanted to be married so bad for so long that everything was kind of based around it. Like, in a way where I didn't, I had also had a friend, my bestie, who, she wanted to be married, and she started doing things to prepare for it. But she also started enjoying her singleness.
Yeah.
And she kind of created this group of friends, and they were single and they spent time together. They did go to like conferences, worth the wait conferences and stuff like that. And it was awesome, but it also created something, because in the space that we were in, you kind of felt out of if you weren't married, you kind of would feel like out of the thing, and you can feel, so they created this group of friends, and it was a beautiful time for them.
Yeah.
Where they just enjoyed themselves. Let's us get together. It don't gotta be like, well, I just need somebody to be, because that's what you think about. So then you're just trying to find a man all the time.
Yeah.
And then is this the one? Is this the one? Is this the one? You spoil the time.
You go doing some of the things that, I think you might have shared it before, but you bought a wedding dress before.
I bought a wedding dress before, because I was listening to others, and I thought, is God saying this to me to buy this dress before I get married? And so the dress was still beautiful. I did wear it at our wedding, our first one. And but when I think back, I think about how did that steal away the moment?
Yeah.
Because I had the dress already.
Yeah.
You know. And there's a moment that you get that I got to get with our renewal.
Yeah.
Where I went and I had 2 babies with me. I didn't even get to, it was like middle of the day. And I went and tried on some gowns and there really wasn't anybody with me, but it was still really special because I had you in mind. And it's different whenever I'm trying to prepare for my husband before he come and you're picking dresses. It's different when you have a face. You have somebody that you're like, oh, I'm going to wear this for him. It's different.
Yeah.
But sometimes, you can lose the moment of it because you're preparing to be married and you miss the season you're in, the courting and the dating and the letting him propose. Like instead of always, is he going to propose? Is he going to propose all the time? Like you miss that beautiful season and how it like develops into something because you're just attacking everybody inside, making them be your man. And then, you might have had this thing in your head, how he's going to propose. It might not go that way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Greg proposed on the phone at 4 a.m. He was in college and I was here and I told him he never did propose. So I would like.
She done had a vow. We had a beautiful vow renewal and everything.
But back to the moment stealing.
Yep.
It was such a beautiful, even with a babe, I had a toddler and like a preschooler. But it was such a beautiful time picking my dress for a renewal.
Oh, you're talking about the renewal?
Yeah,
we didn't have any babies before.
No, we didn't.
So
no,
but we didn't have 2 kids going on.
No, we had no babies. But when I was preparing for my husband and didn't know who he was, and I'm at David's bridal, and they're like, "When's the date?" I'm like, "Oh, I don't know yet." Oh yeah, who's the lucky guy? Like they're asking questions, and you don't know really what to say. And so some may say, "Oh, this was a faith step," but when I look back, I'm like, "Did it have to be?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's an emphasis that we're trying to make. You guys know we always provide principles and not practices. If we give practices, we're letting you know that these are options.
So
she's not condemning.
No.
And she always corrects me on the stuff that I say on here. Like, you got to make sure you're making this clear.
Make sure that people don't feel.
She's not condemning people going out and buying this stuff in advance. The important thing is that, number one, we want to make sure you're following the lead of God. But also understanding that you don't have to put the wagon before the horse.
Yes.
You don't even know if you won't like that color.
Yeah.
By the time you guys get married,
maybe won't like that dress.
Maybe you'll decide when y'all get together, we want to go to an island somewhere. And so you go through all this spiel of trying to create the narrative. And let me side note here from a male perspective. One of the things that I did to steal away those moments is I put an unrealistic expectation on the women I were in relationship with. Like I would treat them as if, I had expectations of them as though they were my wife.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, what you mean you went out and did X, Y, and Z without talking to me?
Yeah.
Like, you're not, but she's not your wife.
We had that talk too. I forgot about it. Guys, we really invite you guys into our living room when we're talking.
Yeah.
All this stuff. We had that conversation and I said that to you.
Yeah. And it put it in perspective to me.
Because, you're like, well, wait a minute.
Because you think to yourself, well, she made this decision or chose to do this without talking to me. But in reality, are you in position to deserve to have input on that? That's a very challenging question.
You were a teenager. Let's think back to the time that even was.
Yeah. But the point that you made that was very good was, obviously there's an option for consideration. Yeah. Like maybe she could have been considered how you felt about it.
Yeah.
But as the person who has no true ties to her, you don't have a say in what she does in that area. You don't have a stance in that. And so, it really puts it in perspective in terms of like our expectations of marriage before marriage actually happens.
And even when you get married, you will learn that the other person is a human being too. Yeah. Like that even these expectations, my wife's going to be like this, my husband's going to be like this. Like they're a person, they're developing, they're evolving, they have choices and things like that. They might not choose things that you necessarily like that they're doing, but they're not your child. So you don't really, the consideration, of course.
Yeah.
But sometimes we even feel like we have the right.
Yeah.
Instead of the space to instead. Like we'll feel like I have the right to tell him he needs to do this, or I have the right to tell her she shouldn't do that. And really it's just what you want to have is the space to be like the way our relationship is. I could say, babe, I really, like for instance, I wanted to get another tattoo and he really wasn't feeling it. And I was like, I'm grown. And I'm going to do it.
I wasn't feeling that.
And he wasn't feeling it. And we got down to the root of it and all of that. But the point is that there's a space that we have that I consider what you don't like.
Yeah.
And stuff like that, as opposed to you being like, my wife ain't going to be with these people. My wife ain't, because we saw this.
Yeah.
My wife ain't going to be doing that. My wife. And it's like, is your wife, a woman? Or is your wife, your child bride,
or your possession,
yeah, because it seemed like she's a kid to you, and vice versa. I've seen that with women, with men too.
But then we point out what this is behavior modification. This is the fear of if I allow your leash, which you shouldn't have a leash on somebody in the first place. If I allow your leash out so far, you'll take it beyond where I want you to go. And that's the key point about relationship is that we have to develop this trust where we have an understanding.
Yeah.
Where there's a communication between us where I do consider and care about your opinion on this because I know you got to look at me. And you got to live with me. You know,
we have the same goals in mind.
Yeah.
So we develop the same, and this takes time. Yep. We develop the same type of goals. So I'm not out here being trash and tearing our family apart.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't go with the family, the goals and the what do they call it? Like the core beliefs in our home.
Yeah.
Versus like, this is what we doing and that's what we like that. And then, you're saying, well, she's out of order if she don't do it just the way. So then you have these men who are still learning to develop to be a leader in the first place out here thinking that they got a possession that they could just tell what to do and something's wrong with her if she's like, I'm not really feeling that.
I take it right back to the gender role series.
It messes up the partnership of
you better go check it out. Put the plug out there. Go check it out. Because it takes it right back to that.
It does.
How you can stifle the gift that your spouse is to you.
Yeah. Because
you feel that they're supposed to be a certain way. That's just I don't think we can ever emphasize that enough. There's so many relationships that can blossom, man, that can grow.
Yeah.
If we treated our spouses as human beings with a divine purpose by God in life. Like your spouse has a purpose that's just as unique as you. So
that only they can do the way that they're meant to do.
Yeah. So even coming into the anticipation of marriage, you have to take into consideration. You can plan all you want.
Yeah.
But you're dealing with somebody that could not even be in your life right now. So you got to leave that space, as my wife said, to give them room to live, to be the person that they are, instead of creating a life for them that ain't even there.
Yeah.
Like you've already designed the colors for your wedding. What if dude don't want to wear purple?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and you can say whatever you want, but what if, like you got to give him that room. Like, where's our common ground in this, where you can enjoy this experience just as much as I enjoy it?
And that's the thing, when you get with the person, you really see, like a lot of the time, you may have things that are common with what you both want.
Yeah.
That you didn't know before because you didn't know who it was.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
And I had to cut it short last week or the last segment. This is really good, but guys, we really enjoy your input. So please shoot an email to us at restoringthebreach7@gmail.com. I know if you're watching it on YouTube, I'm posting it right there. You can see it. But we also have an option where you can leave us a voicemail. All right. So we'll put that link in there. Reach out to us, and we'll have more and more content coming where you can get your input. We value your words, and we live to provide intentional leadership
for intentional living.
So take care.
God bless.
God bless.